All right, let's record.
Yeah, let's keep going. We have another question here.
Yeah.
Very nice one. I'm going to start with this one because I truly like this. How would you combat fear of the markets and how do you cope with losses? Man, I used to say this to everyone. Oh, Kobe, I'm sorry. Do you want to retake from where you just stopped?
No. Go for it, man.
Okay, nice.
All good, all good.
Okay. What is it? There's a strange noise here. Oh, okay. How would you combat fear of the markets and how do you cope with losses? Hey, PM, how are you, brother? Okay, brothers. Here's the thing. How can I say this? Fear of the markets. Yeah, Kevin, I just muted you. It was very noisy, but I will mute you in a second. Okay, brother. Uh, about the fear of the markets. I think the biggest problem, the biggest fear is losing money. That's why everyone always tell you, the mentors and the guy that you're getting help from, oh, just don't put money that you can afford to lose there. Why? Because you're going to trade with fear. And if you trade with fear, you're going to start to hunt trades. And if you are going to start to hunt trades, you're going to trade emotionally and you're going to lose money, period. We just stated here, Corbin just gave us a beautiful and nice explanation about support resistance, higher time frames, and Kevin stated that as well. So how can you just losing money with the coin example that I gave, the 50-50%, with a good risk management? You can find everything for free on Baby Pips, for example. There's a lot of good stuff, psychological books, trading for a living, Japanese candlesticks, and trading the zone. Man, there's a lot. The quarter theory, as just Corbin stated here, round numbers, psychological zones. If you take a look at this is quite simple. If you just practice a little, you're going to make great analysis. So what's making you lose money? It's not the trading, it's not the analysis, it's the emotional part, it's the fear. But what do you fear? I mean, if you earn like 2K per month and you just start to risk to put in your account like 20K, man, that's a year of your work. So you are going to fear to lose that money. So you shouldn't be trading that. That's why you start with a demo, and then you just progress to a small account, like $100-$200 account, so you can lose that fear. Because even if you are a millionaire and you start trading, and you put there like $200, that's still money, and then you just start to care for the money, but in a good sense. You are not going to get emotionally attacked to that money. You're going to think like this: oh, okay, this money I can afford to lose, but that doesn't mean you are going to jump in every trade. That means that you should practice respecting your risk management. So in order to avoid fear of the markets, just don't trade in the beginning. Just don't trade money that you can afford to lose. Second, if you have a good analysis, you have a good risk management, why should you fear? You should trade like a robot, not a EA robot, those programmed robots. I mean, you should treat yourself, your trading, as a robot. If you win, we have this in Trading for a Living from Alexander Elder, one of the oldest traders in the market. He states that if you are trading like, oh, I'm going to lose this money, oh, I need to make money, oh, emotionally, oh, I just won like 100 pips. Fuck, you are not prepared for the market. If you won 100 pips or if you just lost like 200 pips, you should feel the same. Oh, I just lost 100 pips. That's okay. It's if it's inside your risk management. If it's outside it, if you just have made your stop loss bigger, you should get yourself slapped in your face, because that's forbidden. Let's say like this: if you want to make money, respect your risk management, respect your rules. For example, oh, you just trade like engulfings, you just trade rejection from resistance, like those. So okay, what are the odds to lose money with our analysis in this one? Like, for example, you have like a 40 pips stop loss here for a 200. So it's like a 4-to-1 risk reward. You can afford yourself to lose like 4 and earn 1, and you'll still be at break even. So second thing I could say about fear of the markets, the psychological way, despite the part that you should be cold, should be a robot, is if you are making money, you shouldn't be happy, as I told about trading for a living. And man, think with me. If your analysis is good, what are the odds that you are going to be screwed by your analysis, by the technical part? You are not going to be screwed. You know, you are just being screwed because you forgot the psychological part. You hunt trades. Put it in your mind, I'm only going to trade engulfing. So it's not engulfing in a nice part, in a rejection, in a resistance, in a downward momentum. In here, for example, you are not going to trade it. Oh, but today is a working day, I need to trade. No, it doesn't. You know, you don't. You should go in a vacation, as we just spoke. You know, like take the day off. Oh, but I'm not going to make money. Yeah, that's the part. If you want to get millionaire in your first day, I mean, if you start at work, if you're going to, I don't know, be a martial artist, I always tell this to my students. You're not going to be a black belt in the first day. It's going to take like years, a decade. But you have to show up every day. And sometimes you're not going to fight every day. Sometimes you are not going to afford a punch, but you have to be there every day. Yeah, Dinesh just stated this beautifully. But not every day is a trading day. Yeah, actually, if you just take a trade for in a week, oh, I just took one trade. Okay, did you win that? Yeah, I just won like 25 pips with a good risk management. I just won like 2% of my account. Is 2% good? I mean, in Brazil, in China, in a lot of places, they pay like interest rates for the people who are investing money in the government, like 0.5% per month. So you just earn like 4 months, considering the government interest rate. So why not? Why you are not going to be happy with that? So it's very complicated to just say, oh, I need to make money. I'm in Forex to make money. Of course you are, you know, but it doesn't mean that you should take your time. That's it. You have a time to grow, you know, and this growth is not technically. I mean, this art here is not that complicated. I mean, we have great analysts like just Corbin did, beautifully did. He goes from higher time frame, man. Those are golden rules, you know, but those are not hard. Anyone can do that if they put in the time. But the hardest part is to give the time for yourself to grow. And when you grow, you are going to make money either way. It's just like entrepreneur. If you open like a company here, you may bankrupt, and then you open 10, you are going to bankrupt the 10. But at a time, you are going to grow yourself, and then you are going to say, no, I can't do that. I already know how to don't do that. Doesn't how I shouldn't do that. Now I can. Now I can do that perfectly. And then we're going to do. That's why experience is so valid. It's so it's the most, you know. So that's why we always tell you, go for the simulator, go for a small account. I personally don't tell everyone, oh, go with a demo account. At the very beginning, yes. But then when the person is kind of prepared, guy, please go for a live account, $100. You are going to be happy. You are going to develop that maturity in your mind that you shouldn't make emotional trades. And that's what is going to keep you away from losing. That's my opinion. That's what I tell everyone to do. And man, I think there's no secret here again, you know? So, no, sorry, Kevin. So, Kevin, if you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, to keep everything simple, right? If you decide to go live from day one, I think you're joking yourself. You better go give that $100, $1,000 to a homeless person and make his day, because you're pretty much flushing that down the toilet. Because what I usually tell people to do is, if you can't make money on a demo account, how the hell do you expect to make money on a fucking live account? And what people have to realize is, you know, they do say this, right? Demo is demo, live is live, is different. No, to me, it's not like that. It depends how you treat demo and your live. So with demo, for example, I would say you should trade one demo for 2 to 3 months. So if you want to trade, let's say you have $1,000 that you want to open with your live account. Okay, then firstly, go open a demo account with $1,000, create a trading plan, and 3 months later, how much percentage do you make off that account? Because we have to take into account how much the banks give, how much hedge funds give, how much they take from us, etc. Right? So if you come to the 3 months and you only made 30%, so you made $300 off that $1,000 account, you should be fucking happy because you won't get there anywhere else. You should just invest in yourself and play the long game. If you can do that, then great. Now you pretty much take exactly the same trading plan and apply it to a $1,000 account because you're already used to taking the lot sizes, you're used to taking the losses, and you're used to taking the profits. So it becomes no emotions. It's just an easy transition. But you don't want to go from $100,000 demo account, you look like how much money you make, and then you put your own money, and suddenly it's all different. And then you get emotional about it. And also what the good point Marcus said is, don't trade your life savings away. If you make $2,000 and you put $20,000, that's almost your whole year. No, don't do that. Do a $100 account and see what you can do with that, following the same plans. That's the best way. In my opinion, I think $1,000 is the best way because with percentage risk, it's easier to control compared to a $100 account. But that's just my opinion. But there's always different ways to do it. But the key thing is if you can't make money on your demo, you won't make money on your live. And if you're going to start out, you have to start treating your demo like it's your live account and use the same exact account size. And with live, one thing you have to realize with every trade you take, before you enter a trade, you have to plan it. You have to have an entry plan. You have to have an exit plan. The exit plan is more important because it's exit either in losses or exit in profits. And you have to have a good risk to reward ratio. I would say minimum should be 2 to 1. Right? If you don't have a 2 to 1, skip the trade, wait for the next one. And with your loss, your exit plan for your loss, you have to calculate how much you're going to lose with that one. Don't just randomly enter and put one lot to every single trade. The stop loss will be different. So you should base that stop loss and lot size accordingly. So you're used to the trade. And one thing you have to realize with the exit on how much you're going to lose. Okay, maybe your account is going to be able to handle that. But more importantly, your emotions are supposed to be able to handle that loss. Because if you took a loss and the account is fine, you only lost 1%, but emotionally that 1% is quite a lot for you, then you're going to find a way to revenge trade. You're going to find a way that you want to get back into that trade. So you have to take that into account. Do you consider your commission cost when doing a risk to reward? Not really, because the commission cost is very low. It's mostly just like 0.7 pips or something like that. So I don't take that into account. But you have to just be within that boundary. So every time there's an easy formula, and I'm going to write it down here on the chat. It's lot size equals to your dollar risk divided by your micro pips SL. Every time you decide to enter, find where you want to put your SL that's going to be safe. Count the number of micro pips. Say I'm willing to risk $50. I'm going to risk this much pips, and then that will give you the lot size, and you use that lot size and enter that trade. And that's how you should do it. It's super simple, but people are always there trying to find fast money that they don't take into account that even 10% a year, 20% a year is better than anything you'd get in the bank. Yeah, that's for me.
Yeah. Kevin, if you want to keep going.
Yeah. And I kind of meet both worlds. I kind of meet where the scalp and when you swing trade. And it's kind of, for me, I feel like it's a mix between both. Like the account size, you should, I know a lot of scalpers use the 1 to 200. I'm very capping on you swing trade. I think the 1,000 is the best to really start off of. But what a lot of people miss is a lot of people don't train themselves on their mental discipline. And what everybody, especially with Kevin, made me drawn to him is just his discipline. You have to be disciplined. That's the difference between going from a demo account to a live account. Just like what Corbin says, a lot of people when they get in and do demo accounts, they use bigger lots. They don't really, it's not their money, so they don't get the emotional attached to the trade. It's it's emotionless because it's not your money. So they're just trading the trade. They don't have a trading plan, and they see everybody making the money and they just want to make the big money. But one thing, and it's kind of like what Javier says to me is the biggest grasp of that is you can't. People say, well, how did you do it or how did you become good? It was through experience. I mean, to me, all my failures is what eventually made me successful. If it wasn't for the failures, I would have never got to be any success in the Forex. You know, you can't duplicate or you can't replace experience in the market. That's why your risk management is so important, because it allows you to last, to get that experience that's eventually is going to take you to where you're trying to be at. But you just can't come in a month, 2 months, 3 months and be a superstar. You know, it doesn't work like that. You know, you can't triple double your account. You know, in scalping you can. I mean, it can happen very easily, but you've seen some people even with scalping that build big accounts and then lose them drastically. I've done that, you know, simply for the fact you let your demons get in control. You just get greed, and money is what you're trying to accomplish all the time, instead of just getting better, studying your analysis, working your trading plan, and being disciplined. You know, I always tell Marcus is there's a lot of training on how to trade charts and analyzations, you know, and double bottom, double top, you know, all these things to trade, but nobody really focuses on the mental preparation and trader's mindset that you need to be a successful trader. You got to work on yourself and how you mentally approach the market just as much as anything else, if not more, because you are your worst enemy in trading. You know, revenge trading, getting emotional when you lose a trade. You know, I thought I was right. I thought my analysis was on key point. You know, why did I lose? You know, I don't know if this is for me. You know, maybe I'm not a good trader. You know, you get those emotions because as human, we're very emotional creatures. You let that take over, and next thing you know, you're taking trades that you shouldn't be trading, and your account is just getting depleted. You know, but if you take your risk management and you take your time and you invest by your trading plan, those type of things really don't happen. You know, when you go off on your trading plan, that's usually if you look back and you're losing, that's the reason why. But you can't replace experience in the market. It's like anything else. It's like the first day you go on the job, right? You don't know what you're doing really. You get better as time goes on. You know, you're going to be better a year from now than you were the first day you started. It's the same thing with trading. You can't rush the process. You know, I can't duplicate, you know, the years of experience I have in this in a week or two or a month or two. You know, you can't do that. So the longer you're in the market, eventually the better you're going to be. If you have somebody that's been trading for 1 or 2 years and they're not successful, it's because they don't have a trading plan. They can't control their mind, their emotions, and they don't have good risk management. Because if you have good risk management, the longer you go, you should be successful. There's no reason why you shouldn't, because you should be way better than you were when you first started. So it should be a progress of getting better every month. But if you keep to your trading plan, that's what that is. It helps. Your journal tells you all your trade you can study. But if you don't have those things, you're not going to be successful. You can't be successful taking signals. You know, you can't be successful just copying other people's trades. You can't be successful not taking the time to study, you know, and you can't be successful if you don't learn from your losses either. You know, you got to learn from your wins. You got to learn from your losses. But ultimately, the experience in Forex is what's going to make you successful. And there's no getting around that. You know, you can't rush that. You can't replace that with something else. You know, you have to do your due diligence in your time. And everybody that you know that's been successful, they've been doing it for a while. You know, and it's that experience that's made them as good as they are. And if the longer you do it, the better you're going to be. So my advice to everybody is just get a trading plan, right? Make sure you stick to it. Risk management is what's going to keep you longer in the game, right? It's about staying in the game the longest you can, right? And the longer you stay in it, the better percentage you have of being successful overall. And make sure you're training on yourself, your demons, your emotions. You know, if you lost a trade, step away for a day or two. Get your mind right, right? Detach yourself from that loss, you know, so it doesn't bother you the next time you lose, right? If you win a trade, take it as a win and say, hey, my analysis worked out, part of my trading plan, and next time I see it get set up, I'm going to take it and I'm going to do the same thing over and over again. You got to practice those things. You got to work on yourself and practice being disciplined and doing things right to be a successful trader. But you just can't be reckless and not do risk management and don't have a trading plan and think you're going to make a whole bunch of money.
Perfect. It's like Rocky Balboa, right? You have to take the punches. There's some questions here, and Kevin, if you want to keep going, we have one for you here. Can you explain scalp to swing using chart example, Kevin? And then we go with the rest of them.
Yeah, really, everybody asks the scalp to swing. If you notice, and you swing, I've said this before, and a lot of people that's been around me along, for is these key price points and resistance, I've always done that. Like I was the king of, at one point in time, just training 4-hour zones, you know. Scalping and swinging is to me, it's the same. It really is. The only difference of it is that in the lower time frames, things move faster. And the zones are minor zone, not major, so they're easily broken, right? Before is these charts set up and the pullbacks and the zones and taking entries, everything is pretty much the same for me. I mean, there's nothing really that really changes. I feel like if you can swing trade, you can scalp. It's just that the scalping on a lower time frame just move way faster, right? than the higher time frames. So, but my basis of what I do really is just off the 4 hours. I do the 4 hours, and really what the scalp to swing is just really taking a very low risk with a high reward. Really, scalpers like to do 10 pips, 15, 20 is considered, but I've had times where I scalped and got 120 pips, and it's really just entries. That's what the key thing of it is entries with a very small stop loss, right? With a very, very good risk to reward. And if you can do that, and it can be done. It's really what I brought this group is to combine scalping and swingers and make this kind of a thing where scalpers can learn how to scalp the swing, and swingers can learn how to kind of get better entries by scalping. Because when you scalp, your entries are 8 pips, 5 pips, 10 pips stop loss. Usually when you swing trade, it can be 25, 35, 40, 60 pips, So just think about that. Just think about if you were taking a swing trade in that 45 pip stop loss or 35 pip stop loss you did for 10 pips. How much better would that be for you? How much more would you be able to gain if you only had to risk 10 pips, right, to pick up 80 or 100 pips? So that's really the mindset about it. It's really just the entries of scalping in on the lower time frames, right, zooming back out to the bigger time frames and using that scalping as an entry point, right, instead of just sometimes always going off the 4 hours. So I enter most of my swing trade on the 4 hours, but when I do some of my scalping, sometimes my scalps turn into swings, right, but my interest is taken on the 15 minutes. I take nothing less than the 15 minutes. And basically it's the same thing I do on the higher time frames. I will go to the minor zones, right? I see what price action is doing. I'm waiting for price action to retest the previous broken minor zone. I look for entries. And at that point in time, I use them 5 to 10 pips stop loss, right? And then I let that trade roll. Sometimes it's, I cut early because price comes back to my entry point. Sometimes it doesn't, so it's not a perfect science, but when it runs and I do UJ, when I do the scalp to swing, it can be a pretty beautiful thing. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten so many pips, just risking 5 to 10 pips.
Beautiful. Yeah. I have one for you here, Corbin. What should be included in a swing trading plan? I go with the psychological was one if you want to go with this one.
Okay. Yeah. I'll go over it because I actually got to head out soon. But yeah, with swing trading plan, I mean, it's quite simple in my opinion. More importantly to the swing plan, I think more important to that is actually journaling, because I feel there are types of traders where they do really well and they're super happy, and then they forget about it and they don't learn anything about it. Or there's times where there's trade. This is coming from experience as well. Where if I make a loss, I kind of don't want to think about it. I don't want to see it again because I lost money. And that's because maybe that time I lost, I didn't risk the amount of money. I just wanted that quick buck, but actually just kept going against me and I lost that money. And I don't want to think about it. But what I should have done is actually wrote down why I took the trade. And it pretty much comes down to the date you took the trade, the pair, you can do the position, your entry, stop loss, your take profit, and then later you type your risk to reward, and then you say your reason to entry, and then the result. And pretty much you can say result, whatever happens, right? But to a trading plan, what's important is you have to kind of be strict. For me, it's really difficult to say what a trading plan is because I'm super specific with what I trade, because I just swing trade. So I always do my top-down analysis. So I go for monthly, weekly, daily, and 4-hour. And I will only, so in my trading plan, in a way, I will only take a trade on the 4-hour time frame. Sometimes on the 1 hour, but mainly on the 4-hour, and always on the candle close. And I will only take trades at the resistance or support. If it's in the middle of a zone, all I'm going to do is wait until the next hour. And in a way, when you first start out, which I think will help a lot, is to students, if you're trading the 4-hour, you have to wait every fucking 4 hours for the candle to close to see what the price action is. And that teaches you discipline and patience, in my opinion. And that's how, and then later you can take that into account too if you want to scalp or whatever. Obviously, you guys have to play around. And like Kevin said, everything comes down to experience. How did I find out that I was not great at scalping and better at swinging? Is mostly because I blew so many accounts, or I grew my account so vastly, and then I lost it just because I decided to scalp because I wanted to make a quick buck. So your trading plan, to simplify, should have the time frame you want to enter on, right? where you want to enter on, which for everybody should be either at support or resistance. And another thing is you guys should always do top-down analysis. So for me, trading plan is quite difficult to explain. So I guess Marcus and Kevin can take you through that. But for me, it's just I always do a top-down analysis every week, and I plan my zones that I want to visualize where price could go, what I want to see, and when it gets there, I take that trade based on this risk and reward. So yeah, you guys can carry on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody asked, when do you modify the stop loss on the scalp to swing to hit stop loss? That's a very when I scalp it, it's scalping, right? Some of them turn into scalps to swing. I never really have an exact science when it's going to turn to a scalp to swing. You know, it's just a beautiful way of trading to me. Majority of the times, I wait till it gets to about 15 pips. I try to get 20 pips. Sometimes I can't. When I'm scalping, I'm on the computer. At any time, most of the time when I close, it's a manual close. But I put my stop loss really around about 15 pips. Sometimes when price, because I trade out for major for 4 hours, right? If price is pushing down and it say the open of Asian, you know, or when I go in to scalp, it's mostly when I scalp, or it's pushing up. You know, you'll get a strong push sometimes. So, but most of the time, it's going to come back and retest. I don't really go in and say, hey, I'm going to swing this scalp. It doesn't work like that way. It just turns into that on that. There's a lot of times where it hits my stop loss doing that. You know, when I try to like think it is going to drop heavy, and sometimes, you know, but to me, if my stop loss is break even, right, then I didn't lose anything. So my whole thing when I'm trading of it is I protect my money, because my money is how I'm going to last. It's a business for me, right? So I don't go to spend money not to make money. So if it hits a stop loss, I'm fine with that because I didn't lose anything, you know. So sometimes I would take that risk. Corbin has this thing where you say you move stop loss to break even, and it's a free trade. And you hear that all the time. There's nothing better than a free trade, right? Because what can you get out of it? Nothing but profits. Because if you stop out, then you just made even. You're breaking even. So you're still where the same place you were when you started out. So it's not an exact science. It's not like you can just call it and you enter and it's going to be run into profits and you're going to swing. No, I mean, majority of the time, if you hold, it is going to in the smaller time frames, it is going to retest back and take out your stop loss. But sometimes, occasionally, it does run. And when it runs, I mean, it's a beautiful thing, you know, and you can grab a lot of pips. But I have no problem ever breaking even or making a little bit of money on a trade. You know, I don't say, oh, man, I should have made 40 pips or 60 pips, or I'm not satisfied with this, you know, 5 pips. You know, hey, a win is a win, and a break even is still a win to me.
Yeah, that's right. Break even is a fucking win. You don't lose money is a win.
Yeah, I think being successful in trading is not losing money, period.
Yeah.
Before starting making money, you need to learn how to not lose money, period. So break even is way better than stop loss hit, and stop loss is way better than blowing your account. I always say to my students that they shouldn't, if they don't blow like 3 or 2 accounts, they can be full-time traders. It's a joke, obviously, but it teaches you how to be patient. Like Corbin, you just said you trade like the minor time frame that you trade is like 4 hours. So man, I mean, how much patience you have to be, you know?
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, sorry, you cut off a bit.
Oh, sorry. I mean, how much patience you have to have in order to hold the trade, in order to wait for that 4-hour candle to close. That's what people don't get, you know? They just jump in trades. So let's go to another question.
Yeah, just before that, I'm gonna send a message because I have to head out. But you guys carry on, and then I'll be on Telegram chats. If you guys have any questions, whoever is in the chat, you know, just send it over to me. Send it in the chats, and I'll reply to you guys. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Marcus and Kevin.
Oh,
Great.
Thanks for being on, Kevin. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Corbin.
All right, take care, guys. It was great. Take care. Bye.
Whether modify, just consider lost money already. How to work on that discipline? Yeah, I think it's very. We kind of answered that already, Clarel. How to work on that discipline? I think it's pretty obviously with practice, as Kevin stated, because if you don't practice your trading style, your psychological, you're not going to be good. I just gave the example of the martial arts. You have to be punching every time so you can give a good punch in a fight. So it's the same here, you know. You have to give yourself a time. So if you can go, like they said, with a 1K account, after you know your trading style, you know your trading plan, your risk management, things are going to come for you. You know, how do you train that discipline? Go to the simulator, treat that as your real account. Go with a live account, treat that as your bigger account, you know, and then things are going to come. You're not going to just waste money. You're going to respect your lot size. Put a message in front of your computer every morning. Everyone has a process. Just take a look at the message saying, oh, I need to be disciplined. I need to not open a lot of trades. I need to not jump in trades. I need to wait for the perfect setup. Oh, what about if you don't find your perfect setup? Okay, just don't trade it. Period. That's it. You have to learn how to sit in your hands. You know. Hey Kevin, I want you to answer one that Diederik just made a few minutes ago. Could you guys talk about making the switch to trading full time? How you experienced it? What your situations at the time and stuff like this?
Yeah, really the full time is really those type of things are really just due on discipline. It's really, you got to train yourself to be the utmost discipline. You can't get reckless. It's so easy in forex and trading to get reckless. And one thing that Xavier did that kind of made me change stuff is like, he said, well, I see everybody making a lot of this money. And he posted in the chat and he said, and that kind of got me to trying to chase the money a little bit, because I wasn't satisfied making 50, 60, 80 bucks. And I saw people making several hundreds or thousands of dollars, and that's the difference of what you got to take out of your mind. You got to run your race. You can't worry about what other people do. I always tell people ask me, they get in trades and they see everybody say, they take your buys, and then everybody's saying, oh, it's going to sell. Me, I don't care if the whole world is saying. I mean, I'm just going to trust what I see, right? And I don't let anything take me out of that. So that's what I'm talking about, discipline. You see that you've taken a buy and everybody's taking sales. I'm not going to switch to a sell just because I see everybody else taking sales. I'm going to trust my analysts. I'm going to trust what I see, and I'm going to ride with it. Once I make a commitment, I'm going to stick to that commitment with that. But it's really the transition is just being disciplined. You just got to train yourself. It's kind of like Marcus with martial arts. He's a great trader, right? But what else is he great at? He's a martial artist. He's a black belt. Well, you got to be disciplined. You take people to work out. You got to be disciplined and be on a diet and stay fit. There's a lot of things that correlate with being good traders. You take somebody that's a really good trader, at some point in their time, they're very disciplined, and they stick to their plans, and they're not easily shook. As humans, we're just emotional creatures. So it's very easy for us to get off track. But when you're doing it full time, like, that's the biggest thing that a lot of people can trade. I don't think a lot of people know that. I tell a lot of people all the time, they're very good traders. They like, some people are like, I'm not a forex wizard, or I'm not. I'm just a normal guy. I'm not smart. I'm not no genius or anything like that. I've learned through experience, but I'm very protective of my money, and I don't risk like I used to risk. I only risk when I feel like it's appropriate. A lot of people are like, why you don't take more trades? You should take more trades. No, it's my money. The more trade I trade, the bigger chance I have of losing in the market. I'm here to stay. I'm not here to be here sometimes. I'm here to do this for a lifetime. So I'm not going to risk my money if I feel like I'm not going to win, and that's the difference between full time. Like, when it's your livelihood, then that's what you have to go by. It has to be a business. You can't risk it. If you're not 100% certain, you got to work your trading plan, right? And you got to do your risk management to rewards. I mean, you have to do your risk management. It's key. And that's what you have to work on. You have to work on yourself. Because there's a lot of great traders, but a lot of people don't be successful because they don't work on themselves. They spend all their time studying charts, studying, all of the technical part of trading, but don't study their self and how they trade and how they react to certain things to work on that. You got to work on yourself just as much as you work on your entries, your exits, when to get in, your what style you are. You got to work on everything. But when you go full time, you got to work on yourself the most. Because if you don't make it, then what you're going to do then? You have no job, you have nothing, so you're out. So you got to just make sure that you're 100% mentally prepared, right? And that you're doing things accordingly, and you're treating it like a business, and you're following everything to the T. And your ultimate goal at that point in time is to protect your money at all times.
Perfect. Guys, I have one last question here. When you open a position that turns out to be the wrong direction, short term, do you believe it still goes to your direction? First of all, You have to think that, is it in your trading plan? Was that the setup that you've been waiting for? If that was, then you should hold it, you know? For example, here, if you take a look at your screen right now, you are only trading rejections and engulfings, and for example, you just entered the trade here. This is a higher time frame. We saw weekly and monthly, the setup, the momentum is changing to a short, and then you just shorted here, you just sold here. Okay, so now price found this minor support here and got this huge bullish candle. Would you just close here? You know, like secure the bag, secure your profits, or would you just hold it? What I do is, here is not a rejection, it's just a lower high. But what I do is I hold, I like close like 20% here, and then 20% of the trade here, considering the lot. If the trade starts to go against me, if it doesn't, I hold most part of it. You know, I think there's no secret here about that, because you have, yes, to secure the bag, but you should, you know, allow the trade to breathe as well. So guys, I'm going to share the link for the last part of the webinar, and then I will answer the last questions, okay? Hold a second.
And Ron, if somebody asked about the stop loss, I usually, when I swing, I play it by ear.
Oh, sorry, I just need to send the link again. 1 second.